your role of fatherhood. So for me, one of the things that I'm going to provide here, which is actually in the bill, some of the things that I'm going to propose here are things that are in my bill, and if they pass here, let my bill die. It's not about whether my bill passes or not, it's about whether we take care of the things that are of concern to us. We want to reduce instances of child mortality in this country, and I want to agree with Honorable Nyikal that the numbers are not as high as before, but the numbers are still of concern. And I want to agree that we have a big challenge right now in Kiambu. But I would want to say that Kiambu is what we would call in law sui generis. Sui generis because when you have those numbers of children dying, I think we should even close the country. Because how can we have children dying like that and we are continuing like life is normal? There must be something that is done in Kiambu, and it must be done very urgently to address the cases of children dying. But I want to tell Honorable Nyikal that indeed children still die and we bury. Unfortunately, one of my employees just lost her baby. I think 3 days ago we buried the baby, 2 days ago in Langata. So we still lose children very young. And unfortunately, in her case, it was, if you could actually, when she was narrating what happened, it was a case of negligence. There are cases that are avoidable. Yeah, the child, it's somebody else who had to actually then go to the house and notice the child was jaundiced. Yeah, and if you see the child, she took the child to hospital. I wish she had even called me to intervene. By the time I was landing, even though I was out of the country, it was a bit late. They went to hospital in the morning. The child was admitted. They were trying to admit the child in the evening because the child needed to be in ICU. And by the time they were admitting, they had been telling her to wait for ICU. Then they said there's no longer any space for ICU. So the child died because there was no space for ICU. So that does happen, that we still have, and I just want to say condolences to Belinda on the loss of your child. And so we still are having many, many women losing children when they don't need to in this age and time. We are losing too many children. But the worst is also that we are losing too many mothers while having children. There is no reason for us to be losing mothers when they're having children. But having children is such a noble thing that we shouldn't be losing mothers because of bringing to earth children, because of fathering the human race. And yet, a lot of the cases that you see, it's because of negligence or because of distances, like those of us who come from, very far places. And I want to thank the county government of Homa Bay that they had actually promised, for instance, our islands, that they are going to provide an ambulance in each of the islands. But I would actually also want to suggest, because I was one of the people who sat when we were doing the constitution, and I remember this was an issue that was raised by Honorable Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta himself, and he said in areas like ours that are overly marginalized, we should be given more money to take care of those unique challenges. In my place where you have 7 habitable islands, if there is an emergency in Sukuru, Rembaringiti, or Takawiri Island, or Ngode Island, or Mfangano Island, and you need to reach the mainland, how do you quickly reach the mainland with an emergency? So we end up losing many women, we end up losing, many children because of that. And sometimes we want to blame the county governments, but all, the amount of monies that are given are not really sufficient for that. So for me, I want to just say, I don't want to go into the details of this bill because, as I've indicated, I have a more comprehensive bill that looks at the entire life spectrum of reproduction, from preconception to conception to giving birth in all ages, including gerontological. Because we have very many old men who are struggling with other reproductive challenges nowadays because of peer pressure. Peer pressure happens at any age. You'll find a man who is 80, 90, is still busy wanting to have a child. So we say, if you are a man who is 80, 90 and you have a child, how do you deal with you as an 80-year-old man? How do you deal with your child as an 80-year-old man? How do you deal with, raising that child as an 80-year-old man who has a child at 80 and you are a father? That child, by the time you are 90, the child is 10. By the time you are 100, the child is joining university. So those are issues that I've addressed in my bill, and as I've said, I've actually discussed with Honorable Nyikal. To the extent possible, so that we don't change the architecture of this bill, I will bring amendments that can be carried on into this bill. And I'm hoping that we don't bring propaganda again to this bill, because as we do a lot of politics on women's bodies, women continue dying and young children continue dying. Why we politic? It's very easy to sit from a distance and comment about your neighbor's compound when you don't know what your neighbor has to go through. And unfortunately, sometimes that's what our brothers do to us. We want to theorize about childbirth. We want to theorize about reproduction. And we love the ones like Honorable Nyikal and Honorable Kaluli, who are very supportive of us. And please talk to your other male colleagues so that they can join us, because this is a journey of fathering the human race, both men and female. Once again, congratulations and thank you for this bill. I'll support with amendments.
Very well.